Is the United States preparing to use seized Iranian assets for repairs and reconstruction in Gulf countries? According to a source familiar with the matter, the United States is considering redirecting Iranian assets to help pay for repairs and reconstruction related to damage allegedly caused by Iran in the Gulf region. The source said on Saturday that Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has instructed a team to assess the cost of damage suffered by America's Gulf allies as a result of Iranian actions. The source also stated that the United States is considering the possibility of using Iranian assets to cover the cost of any future damage as well. However, it remains unclear what specific assets the Treasury Department is reviewing. The language used in discussions surrounding the proposal suggests that the measures may not be limited only to frozen assets. Iran's seized assets have become an important issue in ongoing U.S. Iran peace negotiations. If Washington moves forward with such a plan, it could complicate already fragile ceasefire talks between the two countries. The development comes at a time when tensions remain high in the region. According to reports, Tehran has launched additional drones following attacks on Kuwait and Bahrain, raising concerns about the future of diplomatic efforts. Iran has approximately $24 billion in assets frozen across various countries around the world. These assets include money held in bank accounts, revenues from oil sales, and other foreign financial holdings. The issue of frozen Iranian assets has been a central topic in nearly every major discussion between Washington and Tehran for years. During indirect negotiations over the past several months, there were expectations that if both sides reached a broader agreement, some of Iran's frozen assets could be released in stages. Tehran has consistently argued that access to these funds is essential, especially as the country's economy continues to face pressure from years of sanctions and financial restrictions. This is why the latest discussion within the U.S. Treasury Department is being viewed as highly significant. If Washington ultimately decides to use Iranian assets for reconstruction and repair projects in Gulf countries, the move would represent more than just an economic decision. It would also send a major political message. Iran could view such a step as interference with its national assets and a violation of its economic rights. On the other hand, the United States and its allies may argue that resources connected to Iran should be used to compensate for damage caused in the region. The issue is particularly sensitive because it has emerged at a time when efforts to preserve the ceasefire are still ongoing. While diplomatic talks continue behind the scenes, tensions in the region have not completely disappeared. As a result, any major decision regarding Iranian assets could significantly influence the direction of future negotiations. Analysts believe that the biggest question in the coming weeks will be what exactly Washington intends to do with these assets. Will they eventually be returned to Iran as part of a future agreement, or will they be redirected toward reconstruction efforts in Gulf countries? At this stage, there is no clear answer. What is clear, however, is that Iran's frozen billions are no longer just an economic issue. They have become a strategic issue tied to U.S.-Iran relations, regional security, and the future political landscape of the Middle East. And that is why governments, investors, and policymakers around the world are closely watching what Washington decides to do next.